Well, we will get started then. Hello and welcome back to the Between Meetings and Motherhood podcast. I'm your host, Alexa Starks. I'm the editor-in-chief of Mothered Magazine, and today we have one of the amazing women being featured in our June issue of Mothered Magazine, Danielle Sissons. Welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you for having me. So
Now,
exciting.
I'm super excited for this conversation for many reasons, but this is a very rare thing that you do. You are an independent financial planner and founder of Ivy Financial Planning, specifically focusing on ambitious women and ambitious
Yeah.
moms. So take me back to kind of how you even, what made you start this? How did you get into finance? Because it's generally male dominated. And what made you want to focus on ambitious women?
So, going right back to the beginning, how did I get into financial services? And this is a funny one that usually gives some sound bites. So, I was a weird kid that always wanted to be financial planner. And that's really, really rare. Like
That
most
is.
people, most people that you speak to in financial services, particularly the advice or planning sector, most people fall into it. It's part of a career change move. They get to it
Mhm.
later in life, or they were introduced to it by someone they know. Yeah, I'm part of a very small group that started into financial services straight from school. I think I was 14 or 15, looking at kind of my options. I really
Uh-huh.
loved numbers, maths, spreadsheets. I'd
Okay,
always
so
been a
we're like
natural saver.
opposites. We are
Yeah,
opposites.
don't get
I
me wrong.
hated
I
math,
was
hated numbers, still do.
I look, as I say, I was the weird kid. I loved maths, spreadsheets, numbers. I was doing advanced mathematics at A levels, but I was also doing art and smashing, getting 100% in my art diploma. So what I was really looking for was a kind of combination of the two. And everyone kept saying accountancy, accountancy, the numbers, the spreadsheets, the order, you'll love it. I'm also a Virgo in case that didn't translate.
I have no idea about anything astrology
No,
related. So I'm just
basically
like,
I'm
cool,
very
Virgo.
cliche. Yeah,
Yes.
I'm a very cliche Virgo. So I was really looking for a way to marry kind of the social element that I love, the creative kind of finding of solutions, puzzle solvings with structure, numbers, facts. And my uncle worked in financial advice at the time. It's like, come for a day or two work experience, see if you prefer it to accounting. And I did. So that was that was then my mission. And straight from school went into an administration role, and then just over the years kind of working my way up through different roles, different kinds of companies, more boutique firms to kind of bigger, more national firms, working with a really cool, varied type of client. So entrepreneurs, lots of people in entertainment and media, uh, ultra high net worth to kind of your everyday. And yeah, kind of got a real taste for all the different
Yeah.
things and people that can kind of come into financial advice, which is great. I wouldn't change that for the world. Um, so then how I kind of got to where I am now, I had my baby girl, which seems to be everyone I've spoken to has some sort of big life-altering moment after
Mm-hmm.
having their first
Yep.
child. Yeah. So I thought the end of maternity, what a wonderful thing to do to start a new business.
Yep.
It timed up with returning to work and that not being the smoothest journey
Mm.
and kind of being, how do I, with there being kind of more tricky conversations there around
Mm-hmm.
return and flexibility than I was expecting. I was kind of expecting
Yeah.
that to be quite smooth. I was at a very modern, very kind of, a B Corp, modern, understanding, nice place. They're a really
Mm-hmm.
nice group of people, but business need and individual need don't
Yeah.
always align. So that was tricky. That was quite hard to navigate. And when I looked kind of wider at the industry and the profession, I was like, well, where is this flexibility? Where are job share opportunities? Where are those kind of roles?
Mm-hmm.
There just weren't any. Of course there weren't. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was kind of my final push for, right, if I want this flexibility, I want the control, I'm going to need to create this myself. During all of that, I'd been angry typing away onto LinkedIn and sharing my sleepless nights and kind of sharing all of the kind of aspects to my life that never really used to be that were now because I'm a working mum now and
Yeah.
it's just complex. And through all that, out that, I kind of made some really cool connections, and some really interesting women were reaching out to me and asking about working together. And because of where I was, I had to turn them away because traditional advice has a lot of barriers to entry.
Oh,
Um,
huh.
yeah, so because of charging structures, there's quite often limitations on what a client needs to be before they can be serviced. So usually that's minimum investment amounts or minimum net worths to justify the time it takes to set someone up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where these women were earlier in their career, they were perhaps starting businesses of their own. They didn't have that kind of investable cash just kind of lying around. So
Right.
I wasn't able to work with them. So that's when I was like, right, I'm building my own thing for my own flexibility, my own control. I struggled with my own finances in maternity leave, trying to navigate the
Yeah.
HMRC child benefits system and childcare hours. It's a nightmare. So I was like, I can't help these people where I am. They need help. I needed help. That's with over a decade of finance experience. Who's helping these women?
Yeah.
No one. So that's kind of where I put it all together. I was like, right, I'm building something, building it for me, but I also want to help people like me who want to be richer, who want to grow their wealth, who have these kind of lofty ambitions that you hear men talking about all the time. And,
Yeah.
the amount of men that came through the door and like, I want to be a millionaire. You're like, great, let's do it. So it's like, I want to work with women that want to walk through the door. They want to be a millionaire, but they also want to have fun with their kids at the weekend and log off if they're going to a wedding
Yeah.
in Italy. And I wanted to kind of create something that supported people through that transitional journey without putting the traditional kind of restraints around what that looked like.
Hmm. Okay. I love this so much. I want to take a step back because
Yeah.
my dad was a financial planner, but funny enough, I know nothing about financial planning and investing. And no one teaches you that in school, at least not in the US. There was no like, let's talk about stocks versus bonds and what's a mutual fund and something like a ETF, maybe some
Yeah.
sort of three-letter E acronym. And again, and I don't even know if that's just unique to the US or if it's global. Are you just servicing clients in the UK or is it global? Like, take me through a little bit more of the specific side of what this looks like to invest.
Yeah. So, well, it's definitely a global issue. It's definitely not the US. I think there's huge gaps of knowledge between everyone. This isn't even just a gendered issue, but there definitely does seem a greater gap in kind of confidence for women when
Hmm.
it comes to investing rather than a man might. Typically, we see kind of place a little bit here, play a little bit there, all start some crypto in there, right? I've opened this account. They're more
Yeah.
likely to kind of just try it whether they fully understand it or not, whereas women
Hmm.
tend to be a little bit more on the fence until they understand fully what they're doing, which then creates a bit of a compounding gap.
Yeah.
So, personally, where I'm regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority, the FCA, I'm covered for UK regulations. I can advise financial plan for UK tax residents. There are advisors that get kind of special permissions for overseas or different kind of global um, types of investments, but it's not for me. I
I
think the
imagine
UK
it's a lot.
market's complicated enough. Yeah. The second you kind of get overseas investments crossed with the UK, there's all sorts of like tax implications where, like with the US, for example, if you held an ISA in the UK, tax-free, beautiful investment, 20,000 a year, generally speaking, that you can invest with tax-free growth, tax-free interest, and take it all out tax-free. Beautiful.
Yeah.
The US look at it and go, we don't have ISAs, so that's taxable. Tell us what it is and we'll tax you on it. So planning with multiple locations is just
Hmm.
a whole minefield of its own.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, kudos to
But
advisors that take that on.
but when you, I guess the only, this is like gonna sound so ignorant probably to you.
No, go for it.
Um, but when I hear the word investing, I'm thinking investing in like the New York Stock Exchange, right? And
Yeah.
that's US based. So if it's not that, what are you investing in that's
No,
just
so
UK?
right, sorry, I misunderstood the question there. So, as an individual, you can invest in things all over the globe. Okay, so
Okay.
I was just referring to the individual's tax residency. That's probably a
Uh-huh.
separate conversation. But no, individual investing. So, for example, you can, as an individual, invest in American stocks, which
Hmm.
stocks and shares like an index, the S&P 500, which is an index tracking the top 500 companies in America. The UK has an equivalent, the FTSE. So if you're investing in the FTSE, those are British companies. If you invest
Got
in the
it.
DAX, in the NASDAQ, in the Nikkei, they're all different kind of global and different kind of companies they target. Some target more tech, some are more
Hmm.
just broad based. And when you're investing, a really kind of good way to look at it is it's all about diversifying, right? You want little bits from all over the world, and
Hmm.
the more diverse you can be, the better and smoother your returns are going to be in general.
Got it. Got it. Okay. And I apologize. I probably didn't even ask it the correct way in the first place.
No, no,
Um,
no. But this is it. Conversations around finances are really quite taboo. Like that, your own dad was a financial planner. We seem to really struggle, especially
yeah.
intergenerationally, to talk about finance. And yes, it would be great if schools were putting that education piece in there. But actually, a lot of these conversations just start at home. If
Hmm.
you've set up a junior ISA for your child, talking to them about what that is, what it's invested in, telling them how much it is, teaching them, yes, you'll get access at 18, but what does that look like? Does that mean
Hmm.
blowing it all on a big holiday for your 19th birthday,
Yeah.
or does it mean, continuing to contribute to it and using that for a deposit for a house or for a wedding or for a new traveling around the world or a student accommodation, so many things, but it's kind of teaching that from the
Hmm.
beginning, talking about what it's invested in, what that means, what the differences are between stocks, shares, bonds,
Yeah.
and kind of risks involved with it.
Okay. Interesting. I want to I want to pivot for a moment to you,
Yeah.
and then we'll come back to the business and some advice at the end because I do want to make sure that we're getting some like actionable advice for all the other working moms listening. But I want to talk about you because I also have a 2-year-old daughter. So we both have a 2-year-old daughter. And before I ask about the entrepreneurship side, I need to know if it's a girl thing or if it's like because my daughter is a second, if it's like a second sibling thing. Is your
Okay.
daughter also like slightly wild and feral and
Completely.
or is it just like, oh really?
Yeah, completely feral. I mean, we were at an wedding in Italy a few weeks ago. She was flower girl. Wedding was done. She heard some music playing. She elbow danced her way to the dance floor. We could not get her off till gone 11 p.m. She danced for, I want to say, 5 hours straight.
Wow.
She'll sit there in her upside down sunglasses, her cap on backwards, eating an ice
Yeah.
cream in her nappy. Like yeah, she's feral, beautiful, funny,
Oh my
kind,
God.
crazy little girl. Yeah, nuts.
I love it so much. My daughter is so wild like that. She also loves to dance. I would not dream of keeping her awake till 11 though. She probably would if I let her, because she'll be like energetic up until the second I close her door
Yeah,
and say like good night. And she'll be like flailing her legs in her crib because we need to transition her to a bed because she's the type of girl that will like haul ass and make a
yeah,
beeline for the door. Um, and my son used to be more crazy, and now he's kind of calmed down, and he'll be like,
yeah.
I could sit and watch Bluey or Peppa Pig for hours. You put on Monster Trucks, I could sit and watch it. And she's like, let's fucking do something. Let's
Let's do
go.
it.
Like, what are we doing? Is it jumping off the couch and
I
like
love it.
so okay, okay, okay.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, I think with boy mums, you kind of expect it, right? You know it's coming. And girls, we get painted this picture of these timid, cute little things with bows in their
Hmm.
hair. Not my
Nope.
experience. No.
Same. I thought for sure. I mean, she loves bows and she'll be like, let's
Yeah,
do
oh yeah.
pigtails. I want pigtails. But she'll also be like, and then after when we're done, I'm going to like try to cannonball off the chair
Yeah.
onto the hard ground. So,
Best of both worlds. Best of both worlds.
yeah, yeah. Okay. Take me through starting a business with a new baby, with a young toddler, or I guess she was still probably
She was just,
baby-ish.
yeah, just she was about 6 months when I started toying with the idea. And once I was going back to work just before she was one, and that's kind of when it
Hmm.
all got a bit more serious and was like, right, this is something I really need to do now. And then due just because it's regulated industry, it took a while. There was quite a lot of kind of applications, networks, hoops to kind of jump through. It took about another 6 months to actually get things off the
Hmm.
ground.
Wow.
So yeah, there was quite a lot of background work to be doing
Hmm.
between bedtime and dinner time and full-time
Yeah.
work just to kind of get things going,
Hmm.
which was really hard, which was hard to it was very much an insight into, if I'm going to do this, there are going to be nights that things run over. Um,
Hmm.
how does that look? How does that feel? Do I need to look at doing nursery more? Because currently she's in nursery 2 days a week. My husband has her 1 day a week, and I do the other two. So I've been trying to build everything
Okay.
part-time as well, which is still,
Yeah. So you basically work 3 days a week then.
yes, yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah.
Just gone up to 3.5 days. The half day
Ah,
makes
that
all the
half
difference
counts.
now.
It
Yeah,
does.
it
It
does
does. It
count. That's my
does.
admin day.
That's
But
amazing.
yeah,
Um,
it's definitely a struggle because I mean, you see, yeah, you see when you see founders talking about starting something, kind of all the hours that go into it, the amount of
mhm.
time and conversations, you're marketing, you're administrating, you're accounting, then you're looking for leads and you're networking and
Yeah.
all the different hats, all the different roles you have to do, and trying to squeeze all of that into condensed hours is a lot. But
It
it's
is.
also, it was the reason I started in the first place was to get that time with her. I could have very easily said, I'll stick to a full-time job, employed,
Hmm.
start at 9, finish at 5, and get those hours with her in the evening. But that just sounded a bit too easy. I think it's more fun to
Too
try and do
easy.
too
Let me
easy.
make my life harder. How much can I
I'm going
make
to
my
make
life
my life
harder right
harder, but
now?
more joyful. So, going to get the
Was
maximum amount of time with her and cry about it afterwards.
It's so funny. Was your corporate job that you were going to go back to 5 days a week? Was there any option to go part-time or no?
So I managed to negotiate 3 days a week at the end, but like I say, those
Mhm.
conversations were quite difficult. It came with terms that I wasn't completely happy with.
Yeah.
And it was all subject to review at the end of a set term. So ultimately, it kind of put me in a position where, yes, I was kind of getting what I wanted in that moment, which I'm very, very grateful for. But it was also it shouldn't have been quite as difficult as it was to get here. What I was asking wasn't out of the realms of ordinary.
Hmm.
I tried to offer a lot of alternative solutions, kind of extra hours using holiday. Um, and ultimately, it was kind of then like, with all that in mind, I still don't know what my situation's going to be 10 months, a year from now. If
Right.
someone's just going to say,
Yeah.
we've reviewed it and it's not working, it's very much kind of leaving my future fate up to somebody else's decision making. And that was kind of where ultimately it was just giving me quite a lot of anxiety. It was these nights where
Hmm.
you'd kind of say, like, I don't know what they're going to reply tomorrow. My last weeks of
Yeah.
maternity, I don't know what an email tomorrow is going to say. I'm not sure what day I go back on. I'm, try when nursery are hounding me for a decision on the days I need to put deposit
Hmm.
down, but I still don't know what days I'm going to be working. And it was just,
Yeah.
um, even though ultimately it got to a position where yes, I did have that flexibility, it already kind of taken away some of the joy I was getting there.
Yeah. And what made you want to start a company instead of just find another company to go and work at that did allow flexibility like that?
Quite honestly, I couldn't find them. I couldn't find
Oh,
them. Um, I'm sure there are some where if
hmm,
I had been on leave from there, it might have been easier to get that flexibility in
hmm,
retrospect, but I couldn't find any where, as a newcomer going in, that
yeah,
flexibility was from day one. Um, Other industries where you see job share kind of, between two individuals, nothing doesn't exist in
yeah,
our world. So that's really one of the
yeah,
things
that's hard.
when I kind of did make the decision, I was kind of like, actually, that's something I want to build into my company from day one. So
Hmm.
it's just me for now doing everything. But long term, I do want to build this out. I do want to hire. I want to make it a space where individuals, but especially women, can see it as an entry point to the industry, whether that's from school or in later life or returning from maternity. And they can see it as a place with those flexibilities from day one, including job share
Yeah.
opportunities, including, school time only, the whole 5 hour club, building
Yeah.
those in and making it somewhere that actually works for mums rather than
Hmm.
how can being a mum work around your job. That's what I would really
Yeah.
like to create and hopefully inspire a bit of change to further out firms.
I love that so much. That's honestly something I have a similar thing. We just hired and expanded my company a lot, but I hired them as like independent contractors, and
Yeah.
so not tracking like hourly, and so they can work 5 hours today, 2 hours today. Like it's not,
Yeah.
they can work after they put their kids to bed. They can do it on lunch break or during nap time. They can have their kids on their lap. I don't care. And I think that we need more companies like that and like what you're going to build so that we set a better example of what's possible. Because
Yeah.
we know it's possible.
Yeah.
And setting that example for other companies to also make those moves is going to be
Yeah.
tremendous.
I think the whole old saying of you can have it all but not at once. I
Ugh.
think that only applies in the current setups. Of course, you
Yeah.
can't have it all if you're trying to work a full-time job and you're trying to be a full-time cleaner
Hmm.
and cook and household manager and mum and individual. Of course, they don't all
Yeah.
fit. But I think if we restructure what we look at the world of work and what the expectations are, and we look more outcome based, and the same for our households, we don't you see a lot of negativity towards people with cleaners and house managers.
Hmm.
But actually, I think if we look more kind of, that's just delegation. If you're in a position where you can afford to do that,
Hmm.
why shouldn't you? And that can be kind of part of
Yeah.
having it all. And I think you can have it all and you can have it all at once, but only if we kind of break down some of the walls that have been placed there
Yes.
historically.
I agree wholeheartedly that if we're trying to say doing it all with the scorecard of the systems that men and have been placed and that we're trying to push back against, obviously those don't work.
Yeah.
And I talk about this too, like, because for me, doing it all means resetting what all looks like for
Yeah,
everything, right? Like my house
exactly.
is not clean all the time. Today it's a disaster actually. There's shit everywhere. And but like some days
Preach.
it's great. Some days it's great. Some days we cook like nice, clean, healthy meals, and other days we go to McDonald's
Yeah.
and or order in, and I think that's still what I
Having it
consider
all.
having it
Yeah.
all.
And I think that's it. It's redefining what all is. It's not you have
Hmm.
to do everything and you have to do all of it 100%, 100% of the time. It's what does all look like for you? What do you actually want from life? And then
Yeah.
build your life around that. Make your days so that they work for you rather than trying to fit someone else's timeline.
Yes. I love this. Okay, tell me about, you've won some really big awards lately and been
Nominated,
nominated for a lot of
yeah.
nominated for a lot of awards lately, and
Knock
you're
on
getting
wood.
a ton of press. and like visibility into your company. So that's, first of all, big congrats. That's super
Thank you.
exciting. And take me through like where your vision is for your company that you're building.
Yeah. I mean, long term, I want this to be something national that across the country we've got advisors and clients and support, as in, I say support, not as that's a lesser role because they are literally the wheels that keeps the companies going. But I
Yeah,
want a team that kind of spreads far and wide, somewhere that people can come in, see clear routes to progression, regardless of if they've had children, are having children, want to have children. That's not a kind of like a, oh, I've got to tell my boss I'm having a baby. It's just like, cool,
yeah,
that's the roadmap. I'll have a baby there, I'll carry on, whatever. But also kind of somewhere that someone can come in and say, actually, what I want to achieve is quite different to what you've already got there, and that I can create those roles. I want there to be roles that I don't even know are needed, that people can teach me. Um, So ultimately, I just want to create a really safe space to kind of encourage more women into finance, give more education and financial literacy and confidence to women as a whole, and then work with those ambitious women that kind of want it to take that one step further and make them lots of money. But help them more than that because I do want that. I want my clients to get and feel rich. And again, a bit like having it
hmm,
all, feeling rich is such a personal definition for what that means for you. For some people,
yeah,
it's financial. For some people, it's that feeling of even if the worst thing happened tomorrow, me and my family are okay.
hmm,
Like that is the absolute base that I want all of my clients to feel like that security and confidence and that breath and that shoulder drop and that kind of just real feeling of safety. So if they want to go and do something really big and risky, like starting a company, getting a divorce or moving
yeah.
to another country, that they can do it and know that they're not blowing their life to pieces because they've put the work in to kind of build that security. So that was kind of
Love
all over the
that.
place. I want to really help women feel good. I want to provide roles to help more women in because I think the more women we've got in industry, the more women as clients
Hmm.
will benefit. And ultimately, I want it to be a firm that really grows and can help as maximum people as possible.
I am loving this female empowerment vibe that you've got
Yeah.
going on because I fully agree that if we want to change the world, we need more women running it
Yeah.
and more women in all the male dominated positions, and especially moms, because
Yeah.
moms are epic. Um, okay, let's go to some practical advice. What are
Yes.
things that most women probably don't know and should know about finances and investing and but yeah, let's start there.
So I mean, when I do corporate workshops with people to kind of do broad education, and what I talk about a lot in those is investing, saving. A lot of the time we have to come back a step and really start with the basics, and that's budgeting, understanding where our money's going in the first place, understanding what our goals are. So before we even start investing, what do we want from our money? What in the short, medium, and long term are we actually aiming for? Because generally speaking, when we're talking about short-term goals, buying a house, something like that, you don't want to be investing that money. I have lots of people come to
Hmm.
me and say, I've got 30, 40K in cash, or I've got 100,000 in cash. What should I do with that? Should I just invest it all? But actually, when we talk and break it down, they want things within the next 5 years that that cash is going to be needed to cover. So
Hmm.
I actually have to talk them out of investing
Interesting.
sometimes. And that's something
Interesting.
most people are like, no, you're a financial advisor. You're just going to tell everyone to invest everything they've got. And it's like, no,
Right.
financial advising, financial planning is more about the plan than the investments.
Hmm.
So the investments are a tool, they're a solution. The plan is what should all be around to support. So if you've got your
Hmm.
plan, you're halfway there, then you move on to the solutions. So when we come to investing, saving, things like that, again, most people you speak to them say, have you invested? They say, no, no, I've never invested before. Almost everyone now has a workplace pension. So
Mm.
you are investing. Just because you
Okay.
don't look at it doesn't mean that it's not in your name and it's invested in your name. So, my
Hmm.
first tip for anybody watching, listening, look at your workplace pension, look under the hood. How much is in equities? How much is in bonds? How much is global versus the UK, US?
Hmm.
Just understand it, have a look, get to know kind of what's in there, understand how much you're putting in, how much your employer's putting in, understanding the tax relief you get, because most people don't realize how much you get back for putting into a pension in terms of free
Hmm.
money. So, really
Right.
understanding kind of the power of your workplace pension. Obviously, workplace pensions are locked away for a long time, so that's not always the best step for everyone
Yeah.
if they've got lump sums in the short term that they want to invest for, say, the next 10 to 15 years before retirement. Then I guess you can start looking at things like ISAs, so looking at really tax efficient models.
Hmm.
With the underlying investments, it's really easy to overcomplicate things. It's really easy to go online and just see what the next influencer that pops up is, what they've invested in, and usually they'll say something about like the S&P 500 and they'll say chuck it all in
Hmm.
there. The last 50 years have been amazing. Indexes are wonderful. They're cheap. They are passive, so they track the market.
Hmm.
I obviously can't give advice, but if I was personally looking at investments, I'm not a fan of going all in on one geographical
Hmm.
index. I think you're putting a lot of eggs into one basket for that country to do really well. I think there's a lot to be said for looking at a global index. I think you're going to get a much more diverse spread there. But again, I can't give financial advice. Everything
Right.
is personal, and circumstances differ. Past performance is no indicator for future growth, etc., etc. But
Uh-huh.
for most people, I would say you need to start by looking at your budgeting, your plan,
Hmm.
get an emergency fund in place. That's another thing most people come to me and don't have. And generally
Yeah.
speaking, an emergency fund you want in full accessible cash, and that should
Hmm.
cover at least 3 to 6 months of your essential expenditure.
Hmm.
So the
Okay.
bills that you wouldn't cancel even if you lost your job, your bit, your rent, your utilities, your absolutely
Hmm.
non-negotiables. You might cancel Prime and Netflix, but you can't cancel your
Yeah.
rent unless you've got somewhere else to live. So 3 to 6 months in cash to cover that, just as like a rainy day pot. Um,
Hmm.
Looking at your goals, looking at your workplace pension, considering an ISA if you're then in the position to start saving, um, and getting wills and lasting powers of authority. Another really, really
Oh.
underutilized, not really
Uh-huh.
specific to financial planning, but I always, always, always talk to clients about getting their wills sorted,
Hmm.
especially these days where a lot of couples aren't married legally
Hmm.
and they choose to just live together as a couple. Um, but what that does do is it means that assets won't transfer automatically between you. So even if you've
Oh,
lived
interesting.
30 years together, children, mortgage,
Hmm.
do you want
Doesn't
your
matter.
investments and pensions going to your parents, to your like it, you want or an ex, even worse? Do
Hmm.
you want? So wills are really, really important. Lasting powers of attorney, people often are like, oh, but I don't need that. Yeah, I'll get that if I need it. And
Yeah.
what it does is it means if you're really ill, you're incapacitated, you're unable
Hmm.
to make decisions for yourself, you're nominating someone to make decisions on your behalf. If you
Hmm.
wait
Got
until
it.
you need it, you legally can't sign one because you're
Yeah.
incapacitated.
Yeah.
So it's always worth having one because nobody is safe from bad luck. We
Yeah.
never, there's a lot of fear, but ultimately putting these things in place is not to say that it's more likely to happen, but it's to kind of make you feel better.
Hmm.
Again, in that the absolute worst case thing happened tomorrow, is your family
Hmm.
okay? Is your household
Yeah.
okay?
I love that. Is there anything you would tell or any sort of advice that's more unique or specific to entrepreneurs like you and I, moms starting our own business versus being in a stable corporate job in terms of like the financial advice that you might give?
Yes, I mean, I'd look more at personal pensions. So obviously, if you've come from the corporate world, you might have pots that you can kind of combine and carry on adding to. If you're someone that's, a born entrepreneur, never had a employed job, and you've just gone from it for day one, you might not have those pots set up for you. Set them up. You can
Mm-hmm.
make contributions from your company. Um, there's so much you can, if you're an LTD, there's so much you can do from your company for your own personal planning, which benefits not just you, but also the business because you
Mm-hmm.
get relief from corporation tax. So
Interesting.
if you're a business, there's loads you can do. Pension contributions, protection on your life, critical illness. Um, but also if you can look at how you set up with your partner, if they're also a director, they can also benefit from that as well. So as a household, you can build up those kind of retirement funds a lot faster from the business.
Hmm.
As mums, I would say, as mums, I see lots of people who may not go back to work, but then don't take child benefit because their partner earns X amount and they'll have to pay it back anyway. I always talk to
Got
them
it.
about considering taking child benefit anyway, because what it does is it gives you qualifying years for your state pension. So
Mm.
to qualify for your state pension, you have to have done, I believe it's 35 years of work.
Mm-hmm.
If you've worked for 30 years and then not those last five, you don't get your full state pension. But what it
Got it.
does is it says while you're taking child benefit, it's saying you are technically working, you're caring for this
Hmm.
child. So those years that you're not working but claiming your child benefit, you get qualifying years for. So
That's
even
cool.
if you pay it back, it's still worth getting.
I wonder if the Netherlands or the US has that.
I don't think it's quite the same.
Yeah.
The Netherlands might, I don't think the US does.
Yeah. Socialism. Okay, well, that's fabulous advice. Thank you so much. I want to wrap this up with, by the time this comes out, we'll have released our maternal strengths report. And that looks at how motherhood uh, impacts your leadership skills. So I would love to know which leadership skill, resilience, communication, crisis management, etc., which leadership skill or capability do you think motherhood has increased the most for you?
Ooh, definitely. I want to say organization, but it's not organization. It's how much I can get done in time. I would say I've
Like
always
time
been quite
management or
organized. Yeah, time
prioritization?
management. Yeah, so it's like here's an hour of uninterrupted work. Watch me fly.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's, I might be on part-time, but you know that I'm getting full-time
yep.
work done in those hours. It's like there's no space in my brain anymore for kind of floating off with the fairies and having half an hour having a chat over there and then a little Google and a scroll. I don't
Yeah.
have the time for it. I don't, it's not a need, it's not a want, it's a need. I don't have the time for it unless I'm going to
Hmm.
sacrifice bedtime and bath time, which I'm not willing to. So I'm going to get it
Yeah,
done now. So it's made me
yeah.
really kind of focused, I would say.
I love that so much. I agree. And that's actually one of the findings was that like time management and prioritization actually increased the most. Because I agree, like highly efficient, way more efficient with an
Yeah.
hour of work than I was ever before. Like I'm almost like, there's no one in corporate, like there's no one connecting those dots
Yeah.
that like we just all kind of now we can do 8 hours worth of work in like 4 hours. That's
And on like no
crazy.
sleep, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I may mix up a word here and there and just like brain fart in the middle of a sentence, but you better believe the efficiency
I
gains.
rely really heavily on auto spell check because that's I'll
Yes.
go like this and it's all out. It's all out of me. It's out my brain. It's on the page. It's in the report. It's in the cash flow modeling.
Mm-hmm.
Is any of it spelt right? Probably not, but that's what the laptop's for.
Yes, yes. I mean, best use of technology
Yeah.
by far. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Danielle. Where can we find more about you online and your company?
Yeah, so I'm obviously on LinkedIn, Danielle Ivy Sissons. Ivy Financial Planning Ltd is also on LinkedIn, at Ivy Financial Planning on Instagram, and www.ivyfinancialplanning.co.uk online, my website.
Love it. And we will link to all of those in the description. So if you're listening to this, you can
Amazing.
find those links in the description as well. And if you're listening to this, that means the June issue of Mothered Magazine has come out. So you can read more of Danielle's exclusive interview at motheredmagazine.com. Thank you so much, Danielle, for
Thank
joining us
you.
today. This has been a pleasure talking with you.
No, and you, really pleased to. And to anyone listening, I'm happy to chat anytime to anyone. So please feel free to reach out, drop me a message, event, whatever it is. I'm not a gatekeeper for information. So if there's something I can give, I will.
Love it. Amazing. Well, thank you, Danielle.
Thanks.